How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Mojo Group. Mike here. Today, as the title says, we're going to discuss aircraft insurance. Now, over the years, I've made several videos on this particular topic, and I've shared my own personal experience when it comes to insuring your plane. The most recent one, I talked about how my insurance more than doubled for the year 2020, and this was really across the board. Anyone who was flying or was insuring aircraft in the year 2020 likely saw an increase, significant increase to their aircraft insurance. And so for almost 2 years now, for most of us pilots owners, you basically had to bite the bullet. But it's important to understand why the price of the premiums have gone high and why this is happening. So for me, initially I was just like frustrated and complaining the fact that I had to pay this much to insure an airplane. Now, given that I'm now on the business side of things, it's important for me to educate myself on how these things work. It's a problem that I need to solve for myself, but also solve for potential clients. And so I've been on a journey to understand, one, how the aircraft insurance industry works and the factors that plays into our premium, what we pay either every month or every year for our aircraft insurance. Now, full disclaimer, every detail or information I share in this video are based on my own opinion and they're for entertainment purposes only. Although I do believe a lot of what I'm going to share will definitely help you, but I want you to please go do your own research and confirm whatever was said. Don't say, oh, I watched this video and then I went and made this decision. So disclaimer there, this is for entertainment purposes only. All right, so let's get into it. Why is our aircraft insurance so damn expensive? Well, I'm gonna break it down into 4 different factors, and this information that I'm sharing with you, I actually spoke to experts in the industry. These are underwriters, brokers that deals with small airplanes and big commercial airplanes. And so they were able to educate me on some of these things, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. And my hope is that with the information you get in this video, one, will help you make better decisions and ultimately reduce your insurance liability. Another thing you should know before I jump into this is that insuring your plane is actually not a legal requirement. Unlike in the auto industry, when you buy a car, you have to legally insure that car. But for airplanes and pilots, it's not required. But it does make financial sense for you to insure that plane just in case. Life always happens and you don't want to get caught holding the bag. Okay, so why is aircraft insurance so freaking expensive? Number one is the fact that aviation insurance is a very risky business. Now, as a pilot, you may not think about this or look at it in this perspective, but think about it. The person or the company who is willing to insure you and your plane, they're taking a heavy risk on you. This is because accidents happen, crashes happen, and also when you look around the industry in general, you see that unlike any other industry, there are actually very few players. So say your auto insurance or home insurance industry, you have a lot of players. Basically, as a customer, you have different options. But when it comes to aviation insurance or aircraft insurance, to be more particular, you may have 2 to 3 companies that are underwriting everybody. And one of the reasons why there are less players in this industry is because there's really not a lot of money to be made because the risk is so high. So over the years, you do have companies who will come in and then leave. And then boom, the pandemic hits in 2020, and that made the whole thing even much more worse. So now you have less people or less companies who are willing to take risks on pilots and aircraft. So that's the first thing you need to understand, is that it's a very risky business. And if you were talking to an insurance underwriter right now, they'll tell you, well, Mike, crashes happen, accidents happen. And every single time an event occurs, an accident, maybe just something simple, accident happens on the runway, or a catastrophic accident happens where somebody needs great medical attention or somebody loses their lives. Guess what? On each of those events, the insurance company is liable for something. And so those are the type of risks that they're calculating whenever they choose to insure you and your airplane. Which brings me to today's video sponsor, Morning Brew. Morning Brew is a great business and finance newsletter. If you're used to waking up every morning with social media in your face, or perhaps you get most of your news from watching traditional TV, CNN, Fox News, I personally don't. As a matter of fact, I've been using Morning Brew for the last 2 years. And given that I'm a business person, I also love to know what's happening around the world. Morning Brew breaks everything down for me very simply through my email, and I'm reading through as I'm sipping my coffee. Morning Brew is a free daily newsletter Mondays to Sundays, gets you up to speed on business news in just 5 minutes. Traditional news for me is dry, just boring. Morning Brew is more witty, relevant, with the right information. Honestly, there's no reason not to subscribe to Morning Brew if you're interested in business, finance, and or tech. It's completely free, takes less than 15 seconds to subscribe, and you can use the link in the description below. Click the link in the description below to subscribe to Morning Brew today. Number 2 is the pandemic. As I mentioned, COVID basically just wreaked a havoc, not just on our health, but also on businesses across the globe. So if you think about it just in the simplest terms, when you have a pandemic, you have businesses who are on lockdown or have to shut down. A lot of businesses didn't even make it through COVID, because when the business is on lockdown, there's nothing happening, businesses close down. But you also have businesses where if people are staying home and people are not coming to work, guess what? Things are not being produced. You have a shortage in parts and just even food. Anything you can think about, there's a shortage in everything. Oh, you have a shortage in the supply, the demand is still high. And what happens is when you have more demand than supply, two things generally happen. One, you have that shortage, but then also the price goes up. Now, what does all of this mean for the aviation industry? Well, guess what? If an insurance company has to insure you, they're also calculating how much it's going to cost them to replace any parts in your airplane. So if anything happens and they're liable to pay out, guess what? They have to calculate how much does the part or some of the parts for this airplane costs. And now when you have the pandemic driving prices up for parts and also having shortage in parts, the insurance company has to calculate that. And when they have to pay double or triple for the same part that they did 2 or 3 years ago, guess what? They're going to outsource some of that cost to you, the end customer. So this also played a huge factor in why our insurance premium went significantly up through the pandemic. Number 3 is your airplane. This plays a huge factor. So when an insurance company or underwriter is looking to insure you, they're also considering the airplane itself, the make and model. Now, here are the basic things you need to understand. When you are flying, or if you're insuring a widely produced plane, say like a Cessna 172 or a Cessna 150, these airplanes are widely available. There's a lot of volume, but also important, something that perhaps we don't think about. Insurance companies require a certain amount of volume of airplanes, like a fleet of airplanes flying, before they would even consider insuring you. Given that when you have, say for example, you have one airplane that has 1,000, the fleet is 1,000 total. Now, out of that 1,000, chances are things are going to happen. You may have a particular occurrence with a specific make and model. So say for example, if Cessna 150s are known for bad nose wheels, for example, and out of 1,000 that are flying, let's say 100 of them had the same exact issue, the insurance company wants to know about that. And then the second part of that is when you have a certain amount of volume of airplanes flying, unfortunately, accidents will happen. Unfortunately, crashes will happen. And unfortunately, the insurance companies need these numbers to be able to calculate their costs and risk factor. Does that make sense? So say for example, if you had a brand new make and model and only 10 of them are flying, the chances of an accident happening or a crash happening with those 10 is very minimal compared to if you had 1,000 of those airplanes flying. Then you may have an accident, or likely you will have an accident somewhere, and insurance companies unfortunately need that data to be able to calculate, okay, this is the typical cost to replace this airplane or replace a certain part in this airplane. So again, these are just some numbers for you as the pilot to think about. So I'm saying all of that to say this is that if you are looking at a particular make and model for an airplane, you also have to think, is the airplane widely available? One, but also consider, are the parts for that airplane make and model widely available? And then other things you also consider when it comes to your plane is, one, how much equipment or how many equipment do you have on that plane? Think about it. If something happens with your airplane, the insurance company will be liable to cover every single parts and detail of that airplane. So if you have a lot of, say, modern amenities, say for example you have an air conditioner installed, you have a parachute installed, you have all the nice goodies, guess what? The more stuff or the more equipment you add to that airplane, the more cost or risk that the insurance company has to take. Because again, if something happens, they have to be able to replace all of that equipment. So the amount of equipment you have on board will also count as a factor towards your premium. And then the last thing you consider when it comes to the airplane make and model is the hull value. Hull value basically is the total amount that the insurance will pay you if the aircraft was totaled. So for example, if you put a hull value of $50,000 on your airplane, that means in the case of an event, and not even a crash, let's say a natural disaster happens and then the airplane is now deemed totaled, meaning it's not airworthy, you can't really fix it up, then you submit a request to your insurance company and they have to cover the entire hull value of that plane. Now here's the kicker, a bit of insider information. I've heard that when it comes to specifically experimental planes, which is what I fly, insurance companies generally don't like to insure a hull value higher than $200,000. There's several factors that plays into that, but so if you're looking to insure your nicely built airplane, and let's say you put a hull value of $350,000 on that plane, it could help you out that whenever you're insuring the plane, just put a lower hull value. That can help reduce your premium significantly. Now, it also means that you're taking on some of that risk yourself. So if that plane was to get totaled, you wouldn't get $350,000 for it, you would get $200,000 for it. But my approach is something is better than nothing. So just a tidbit of a tip there for you, that if you reduce your insurance hull value for that aircraft below $200,000, chances are you get better rates for it. Just the insider information. Again, do your own research. And then the last major thing that the insurance companies will consider is you, the pilot. Think about it. They're really not insuring the airplane. They're taking a risk on you as the pilot. So how safe you are, how much ratings you have, how many hours you have, all of those things are major factor when it comes to getting an insurance quote. So if you are a low-time pilot, chances are you may pay higher rate than someone who has a lot more hours than you. And when I mean total hours, but more importantly, how many hours do you have in that particular make and model that you're looking to insure? This is something I recently just found out, again, talking to the professionals. Let's say you have 300 hours total, which is a good amount of hours to be able to get a decent insurance premium. But now you're looking to insure an airplane, a newer airplane or whatever make and model, and you only have 10 total hours in that airplane. Guess what? Your 300 total hours then plays a teeny factor compared to that 10 hours that you have. So the more hours you have in the airplane make and model that you're looking to insure, the better it looks to the insurance companies. That tells them that you have time in this plane, you know how to fly it, and you know how to fly it safe. So whenever you're looking to buy an airplane or you're looking to insure an airplane in your name, it's probably going to be best if you spend a lot more time flying that particular airplane before you get it insured, or before you actually make the purchase. That's what I mean. Say for example, you're currently flying and renting a Grumman Tiger, okay? But the plane that you're really looking to buy is a Piper Cherokee 180. Now, these planes are pretty much very similar. They're in the same category as far as I'm concerned. But guess what? When the insurance company is looking at you, they're asking how much hours, or how many hours does this pilot have in that Piper Cherokee 180. So it may be best for you to start renting a Piper Cherokee 180 if that's the plane that you're actually looking to buy. Because as you build more time in that particular make and model, the better it's going to look on your profile when the insurance company is looking at you, and it will reduce the cost of your premium significantly, not by a little bit, but by a good bit. So that's another tip for you there. And then the last thing the insurance company looks at when it comes to you is your ratings. The amount of ratings that you have as a pilot also reflect on how much training has this pilot gotten. So if you're just a basic VFR pilot and you don't have any additional ratings, that can hurt you. So what I suggest is try and get more ratings and endorsement as time goes on. It not only makes you a safer and better pilot, but it also helps you reduce your insurance costs. And one rating that I know for a fact will significantly affect your insurance premium is an instrument rating, even more than any other ones, more than commercial, more than anything else you can think about, is when you go from basic VFR to instrument. That helps you out a lot. It also helps you out if perhaps you got your instrument rating in the particular make and model that you're looking to insure. So think about your ratings, think about the airplane and how many hours you have in that actual airplane. And then by ratings, you may not have instrument, but guess what? When you get just additional endorsement, you can get your tailwheel endorsement, you can get a rating for like a glider rating. All of these things will be considered whenever you're looking to insure your airplane. The more training that you have as a pilot is a good reflection when the insurance companies are looking at you. So these are all of the things that you need to consider as a pilot, and also just to put yourself in the shoes of the insurance company, because at the end of the day, what's happening is that they're taking a risk on you. And so if you feel bad that they're giving you a higher premium, then again, try to see things from their point of view, that whenever something happens, they have to basically pick up the bag and pay out. So when you think more like the insurance companies and you understand some of these factors that plays a big role in the premium or the price that you get, then you can adjust. And that's why I'm making this video. Hopefully somebody takes it and you're able to make some changes and perhaps get more ratings, build hours in the particular make and model that you're looking to buy in the future, and that will really help your case. Okay, so I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If it was educational and it actually helped you, please give the video a thumbs up. And if this is your first time, be sure to subscribe to Mojo Grip. I really appreciate it. Guys, also follow Mojo Grip on Facebook. You can also support Mojo Grip by becoming a paid member here on YouTube, or join the Patreon page, link in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.